Welcome back to the nationally recognized Real Estate Radio Network's Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Radio Show on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Make sure to get great information or ask your important questions at donandgino.com. Now, back to your friends, Don and Gino.
Well, welcome back, and we do want you to get involved because we have some great information coming from Jim Reape with Reape Rickett Law Firm, talking about basically family law and how to mitigate basically disputes as amicably and as inexpensively as possible. And we want you to be involved. So please go on our website at donandgino.com, donandgino.com. Click on the listen and chat. That's right. You can listen, watch, and chat live now with us. Join us in the studio today, basically.
Yeah. And it's actually great because I know, unfortunately, a lot of our listeners have gone through this or they're about to go through this. And the chat room is a somewhat anonymous way that they can ask a question. It's not quite as personal where someone could recognize their voice or something.
We're not going to yell out their name. Becky Larson wants to know.
Well, they can sign in as whoever they want. They don't have to use the Facebook account. They can set up a chat roll account and be completely anonymous.
There you go. So please join us at, again, donandgino.com. And we are here with Jim Reape of Reape Rickett Law Firm. And, Jim, it was really good. We were talking about the cost of basically going into dispute, and a lot of people thinking that once you get in a dispute, whether it's a divorce or other disputes, that you just go to the court and settle it, and it's exciting like you see on TV. But then you start bringing up the costs, and not just the financial cost. There's so much more to it. I mean, the cost you were bringing up was 200 to 400 grand. But you're like, well, that just starts the ball rolling.
Exactly. I mean, the most tangible cost that people will understand is, what's my out-of-pocket? What are my attorney's fees going to be? What's my exposure to contribute to my spouse's attorney's fees? What is this going to cost? And the numbers that I gave you are realistic. They're very realistic for Los Angeles County for a litigated case. The courts are crowded. The courts are backed up. You spend an awful lot of time in court waiting, and your attorney is charging you for every second they sit there and wait, and really not advancing your case at all.
Because they can't.
But the other cost that you're dealing with is litigation is time-consuming. So you have a lot of personal time that has to be invested in this. Mm-hmm. You have preparation for going to court. You have preparation of your basic paperwork. You have preparation in gathering, information about your assets and debts and your income. You have time involved in going to court. You have time involved in waiting in court. You have time involved in being told, I'm sorry, we can't get to you today, come back in 2 months. No. Or we can only get a small portion of this done today, can you come back again? I was in trial recently on a case, and it was one of the more expensive cases. I think they're probably about $500,000 each in fees.
That's $500,000 if you're listening.
Each. That's $1 million bucks.
And it was 35 days of trial.
Wow.
And
a whole month.
And that's
over a month of trial.
Yeah, the trial.
That's worse than Survivor almost.
Right. But this is 35 days that probably were scheduled over a period of 18 months because the court doesn't take family law matters necessarily in consecutive days. There's only one courtroom in the county of Los Angeles that's equipped to do that. Only one.
Wow. So your chances are pretty slim.
Oh yeah, most of the time you're going to be
spread out over
general,
a year and a half.
General. I had a case that involved an annulment of a marriage that was 13 months long. Now the case is filed, the case prepared for trial, the case commences trial. The trial of the annulment of this 13-month marriage took 22 months.
Oh no!
So it lasted longer than the marriage.
That brings us to the third cost. So it's an enormous amount of time that goes into a litigated case.
Well, I know as a business owner, and Gino can attest to that because time is so valuable for us. I can't imagine, Jim, over an 18-month period, the time preparing, let alone the time at the court. How much money I would lose as a business owner? It would be double whatever I'm paying on top of that.
Gets me again to the third cost, which sort of loops into time, and time loops into money, but the third cost is the emotional cost. Figure for every day that you sit and wait in court, you probably are experiencing 5 to 7 sleepless nights. You're probably experiencing, untold illnesses that come on. You're probably getting depressed. You're probably concerned. And you wear this stress for, in the litigated case, well, if it's going to take you 18 months to get to trial, and if it's going to take you 2 years to try the case, you're wearing this stress for 3.5 years.
Oh my heck.
To hear an answer. And then, as lawyers call it, we go into phase 2. It's not over.
After the answer?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Judge may be wrong, evidence may have been missed, we have appeals process, we have modification process. Some of these things just go on and on for literally decades. I mean, the courts are back in court.
Yeah, are they?
They're back in court.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what I see is that I think number 3 is actually, 3 to 5 years, you just can't move on with your life. You're like stuck in this circle, and then of course, like you said, there's actual physical illnesses that happen through depression and
stress,
and then they probably start taking drugs for depression.
Yeah, these family breakups are very emotional, and the true healing process of recovering from a marital breakup it's really long. It takes years, but in my experience, it doesn't really start until the case is over. It takes that degree of finality for somebody to actually start breathing again and then indexing, their life experience and what they've just gone through.
Well, that's an eye-opener, Jim. Thank you very much.
It's really sobering.
Stay out of my office, guys.
Yeah, no doubt. So if you're just tuned in, we're sitting down with Jim Reape of Reape Rickett Law Firm, and he's explaining the true cost of going into basically a courtroom to settle a dispute. And the costs were 3 different costs, basically. It was the financial costs. Everybody initially thinks, oh my gosh, this is going to cost me a ton of money or half or all my assets just to fight the fight. On top of that, he mentioned the time, the amount of time you're going to have to spend, and it could be years or decades. Oh my heck. Decades.
For those truly special people.
Yeah, if you're just lucky. And then on top of it, then there's the emotional drain, which to Gino and I, and we're emotional people, can't even imagine that part of it. That's probably, for us, would be the worst part of it all.
Yeah, completely overwhelming.
Well,
it's just not worth it.
That's the bonus. I mean, one that's in the papers right now is Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore. And my understanding is they're fighting over $10 million, which for some people is a lot of money, but not particularly for this couple that are each worth on their own about $150 million. So somebody here is being a little bit too stubborn to take 7% of their net worth, leave it on the table, close this chapter, and move on.
Yeah.
That just shows where the emotions get involved, and that's why you need to work with a true professional to help you with that. So we just talked about some major issues that are involving going to court. And what's amazing is we're sitting here with an attorney that is actually saying, try to avoid this.
Absolutely.
Because you get paid a lot of money to do this.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, that's just a fact.
I do.
We tell facts here on the show,
right,
Jim, and you're just like, yeah, I make a lot of money to go to court for years and years and years.
A lot of money.
Right.
Yeah, you could send your kids to college, or you can send my kids to college.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. Now we know the heading of this segment.
Yeah. So,
but what's nice is you're explaining how to avoid that.
You know, I've been in this game long enough. My first 10 years, I was a civil trial attorney. That's all that I did was walk into courtroom, business, real estate disputes, personal injury cases, family law. But I was the guy that, you know, you toss the file to, and I went in front of the judge or the jury and just did that for 10 years straight.
And okay, so I mean, you've been in you've been an attorney over 30 years now. Am I right?
30 years in October, yeah.
Okay, so I knew it was close. I'm doing the math. I'm like, yeah, it's got to be about 30 years.
Yeah, you make me feel good when your combined experience is 34, and by myself, I'm already at 30.
Well, that's only because, anyways, mine's
Yeah.
26. I'm not too far behind. I know because my youthful appearance, and if you're watching this live, you go, yeah, you couldn't have been in business that long. But yeah, I started in '87, so just a few years behind you. And that experience is huge. And we talked about this with the professional resource group, and we're going to go a little bit more deep about your values in helping people. But it's now we owe it to help more people. With our experience and knowledge, we are obligated to reach out and help people with the amount of experience we have, because we can truly change their lives.
That's true. I mean, we've been through this rodeo before, and we can take that experience and sort of look at the playing field from above and learn how to navigate it in such a way that causes the least amount of damage for the person that you're trying to help.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. And you can do it with less emotion because of that experience, and help them.
Well, the emotion has to have a place, so that could be multidisciplinary. Obviously, you want your lawyer to be empathetic, and I'll give you one empathetic session, but I won't listen to the same cry twice, because then that's whining, and you have to go somewhere else for that.
Well, why don't we touch on that? Let's touch on the processes of avoiding court and what that process looks like when we come back with Jim Reape, Reape Rickett Law Firm, on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show.
And the drum beat.